controversial subjects with the facts can be tense, but we are Ace Up Science here to make things make sense.
So we're just going to reiterate our bird watching session. If you live in Toronto, May 22nd, 6 to 9 p.m., you have to register online. Look up High Park Spring Migration with ASAP Science.
Yeah. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll put the link in the description for that as well.
Yes.
Or if you're listening to the audio version, we'll link it.
If you're listening to the audio version, you just heard it twice.
Yes.
So it's like, get on there, y'all. You got to sign up.
Bird watching annual. I don't want to call it a party. What do you call it? Like
it is
just
a party.
Bird watching adventure.
No, it
it
literally is a party. Also, it's free, as we've said. But like, you sign up, you come, we'll be there. It is like the best party ever. That you leave.
It's cute. It's a nice way to like get engaged with nature early in the season and hopefully like spark you being out there. Yes, it's bird watching, but for me, I also just love walking through High Park. It's like beautiful. The forest is coming alive. The plants are starting to bloom. All those kind of things.
If you're anywhere but Toronto, High Park, May 22nd, 6 to 9 p.m., you're in the wrong spot. Okay.
On that note, we're going to talk about bird watching today. Greg is our avid expert bird watcher, but I thought I would come today mentioning some interesting stats up front because something that you said that once got me more into bird watching was like, you should do it while you still can. Obviously, birds aren't going to like go fully extinct, but the
diversity of them are.
Yes, and this idea that like even you said this once to me about like winter. It's like appreciate and enjoy the snow while you have it, because who knows what our climate's going to be like in 20 or 30 years, where we might not have the same kind of winters that we can like enjoy and appreciate going skiing or playing in the snow. So I'm thinking about this in terms of birds because here are some little quick stats. 48% of bird species are experiencing population declines.
Oh my God, you're starting with the depression.
1 in 8 bird species are currently threatened with extinction. These are depressing, but it's also like hopefully engaging with not only bird watching is a beautiful way to appreciate what we have, but I think engaging more with just like nature and being outside does naturally turn people to want to be involved in efforts to.
It does. So what did we learn this week is about that. They've studied that. People who birdwatch are more likely to be interested in environmentalism and
conservation
to donate. And actually, if you keep going, once we start the step-by-step, the first step involves something where you essentially become a citizen scientist and participate in science by birdwatching. But continue if there's more.
Since 1970, in the US and Canada, we've lost nearly a quarter of the birds that were here. Mm-hmm. That's pretty crazy. Like it's like 2 billion.
When you birdwatch, you'll see a bunch of like older people with like amazing cameras that probably cost more than like any like Gen Z or millennials like mortgage or rent. But these boomers got the goddamn cameras, and they will talk to you about how like
they used to see.
There used to be scarlet tanagers all over this park, and you'd be like, what?
In High Park?
Yeah, and it's just like sad because you're like, wait, really? They're like everywhere, the glistening red of the wing, and you're just like, oh my God, because like I don't understand what they mean.
I mean, that sort of thing, at least, like that makes me go, okay, I'm excited for those other conservation efforts in Toronto, like the wetlands and stuff. Like hopefully that kind of work in a city and beyond can promote areas that allow these species to thrive and get people engaged.
And
like, how exciting would it be if we create a space where those birds can like come back and thrive?
And some are like bald eagles are back with vengeance in Toronto.
Yeah, it's not all sad stories, even though these stats are sad. There are a lot of positive stories out there, and humans can make a difference in like the ways that we individually act, but as also like how cities and provinces and countries all think about conservation. Honestly, it's just a lot. It's like even in the Amazon, bird populations have nearly halved, even though it's like considered pristine. So it's like it's not just because of one or two factors. We have habitat loss, we have climate change, we have pesticide use, we have pollution. Obviously, the Amazon is being like chopped down.
Also, rat poison and like being eaten by birds in Toronto. Cats is the number one killer. Outdoor cats is the number one killer of birds, and also bird flu now. Like there's a lot of things that are like making bird watching really important right now, and why it's like you do have to do it now to get involved and like help.
Yeah. So should we just talk about how to?
Yeah, I want to be a little bit more positive now because it's like it's so fun, and they are still there.
I will say, like, as somebody who's always been skeptical is the wrong word, but I think for me, part of the bird watching experience is also just to like connect with the natural aspect of it. For some reason, like I'm not overly connected to birds as a animal in terms of like their versus like I love to just like be in a forest. Of course the birds add to that, but if you're somebody out there who kind of feels like me where you're like I have nothing against birds but I'm not like super drawn to be out there and bird watch, just know it's like part of the experience. It's so much more than just looking at the birds. Like you can really just take your time, stand around in a forest, and even just that is so good for your mental health.
Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is download the apps. I'm coming in with like practicality, y'all.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've heard of Grindr, you've heard of Tinder. This is a different app. Actually, there's 5 of them, but I'm going to tell you my favorite ones first. So the first one you're going to download, it's called Merlin Bird ID. She's free. She's incredible. So it's from...
That's Merlin, Merlin.
Yeah, and it's from Cornell. This is the one where you actually just get to participate in citizen science. You literally got to go and like help us understand bird populations by downloading this app and having the best time ever. So when you open the app, there's going to be this thing in the middle called sound, and it's going to change your life. You're going to hit that button. And honestly, it's crazy because there will be this like sonograph that appears.
Yeah, it's like analyzing every sound wave that's coming in and trying to identify, like even as we're speaking and you hit it, you can see our voices kind of like populating on that.
Yeah, and
which it obviously realizes is not a bird.
Yeah, it's like, that's not a bird. But when you're in a park or anywhere and you have this open, it will start listening to all the bird calls and then start showing you the bird that is around. So you don't even have to like
necessarily
know the bird calls, which is really hard. Mm-hmm. B, it'll tell you the birds that are then around you. You can start hearing. It says hearing a bird, hearing, like it shows up, and then you look and you're like, oh my God, and you can see the little sonograph. You're
and
like,
it can
okay,
identify like many species at once. It's not as though it's just hearing all of them and telling you one. It's like, oh, 4 different birds were just tweeting. Here's a picture of all 4 of them.
In Hyde Park or anywhere in May, if you're like bird watching, it's lit. There can be like 22. It's crazy. It's so fun. But my point is they tell you the birds that are around you, and then that's when you start to build off them. But the apps are so helpful for you to literally go out now and start
just learning, right? Then you can probably slowly start to identify those calls and then have imagery associated with what you're looking for. What will they be in the branches? Will they be in holes? Will they be on the ground? Like those.
And I also
things.
like don't even know the calls. So like don't even worry.
That's
and then,
the part that I want to like am most interested in, but I've never had the patience. Like I'm not out there doing it enough, but I'm like, oh, it would be so fun to be able to like identify just their sound.
And people will, if you see bird watchers, they will be able to. And it's so like, oh my God, you're so good. The other one is eBird. So this is one where a map will show up, and then you can, in the last 14 days, click an area of a park near you, and it'll show you the birds that have been there in the last 14 days. So that's helpful so that when you're kind of like, maybe you see a bird and you want to know if it's been there, like in a park throughout the year, there could be 300 different bird species, but the last 14 days is key to know like what's actually around.
Yeah.
Another one is Autobahn. That one you can actually like type in what you've seen, like how big the bird is, the colors, and it'll like give you an idea based on where you are of what it is.
How do you spell Autobahn?
AUDUBON.
Okay.
And then there's also eBird, which is similar. Like people will take their own photos of birds they've seen in a park near you, and they all show up, and that can be helpful because sometimes bird photos like in a book or whatever are so perfect and
like idealized, beautiful, the perfect shot.
And then you
that
get
you're never
question. You're like, is that actually it?
And so close up versus you seeing it probably far away and looking small.
Yeah. So iNaturalist is a way for you to, again, contribute to citizen science, but also look at actual photos people have taken of the park that you're in and get an idea of, okay, that bird they'll be identified, is a scarlet tanager because the orange red wing is less intense because it's a cloudy day or whatever, which is helpful because sometimes you get like gaslit into being like, what was that? And like,
what I'm hearing from you that's super interesting about these apps is that it's not like they're apps that you need to have that much familiarity with before you even arrive at a park. It's not like you're using them to research birds or study things. You're just going to wherever you want, to a park, to somewhere where you know there'll be lots of birds, but even walking down your street,
you could do it down your street.
House finches and
I
stuff.
did it yesterday, and it was so sad. It was just like rock dove, pigeon, and a house sparrow.
And then sad.
No, but it was like that's the climate change one. I was just like, okay, like I was like cars and house sparrows. Anyways, you have to go to a park and then get the Merlin.
You can just have these apps, and you don't need to worry about anything beyond like, hey, I'm just standing somewhere. Let's just open one and see what happens, which I think is cool. And from there, you can start to learn what you're interested in and how you want to use those apps. But like, I just don't want people to think that you have to get this app and then start reading about
No,
birds.
it's so easy. I would say Merlin Bird ID first with the sound option is your best case scenario for a park right now. And then what you can do is actually when you see these birds in the apps, you can write down what you saw. And this is like studies have said, bird watching, it's increasing nature-related citizen science and data collection. So it's a leisure activity, but you're also contributing to nature conservation. And the Merlin Bird ID sound app is linked through Cornell, and that's how they understand how bird populations are either declining or increasing depending on conservation efforts. And then there was just a study about how high school students using that app would be more likely to become interested in bird watching and therefore environmental activities. So it's like these apps are like really cool, and when I think about like technology, I'm like, god damn, it's like the one time I'm like, let's go. Okay. That's step one. Step two, because you actually don't necessarily need binoculars with these apps. You could use your naked eye, but step two is to get a pair of binoculars, but they can be cheap.
Yes,
and
especially if you're just beginning.
Yes, and you can get them from the library in Toronto. So you can get binoculars
cool.
from the library.
You just
also,
like book them out ahead of time and go get them?
Yes. Also, if you go to like High Park or many large parks in, I'm assuming most cities, there will be like a nature center or something like that where they could lend you binoculars. These parks, especially big ones, have places where people are paid to essentially get people to come and interact with the park. They will have binoculars. So in High Park, you could go knock on the door, ask people if they're there. But binoculars are key because the next step is that after using Merlin Bird ID and knowing there's all these birds around you, you'll start looking into the trees, seeing the movement. And of course, with your eyes, you could maybe see something, but binoculars, like it is crazy. And obviously the price can go up and down, like how detailed and incredible they can be for
How
seeing
clear the
things.
glass is. And
Some take photos in them. Those ones are like thousands of dollars. We got these amazing cheap ones. Like if you go to a binocular store and you're like, I don't want to pay a lot, I'm new.
just starting.
Yeah.
There's definitely like, I think that's the best way to go, especially if you're new to it. It's a huge investment if you don't know if you're actually going to get that into it. So why not just buy like a pretty cheap pair to begin with? And if you become a super enthusiast, of course, then invest in your binoculars. But
like
start
cheap,
small.
and it's like all technology. Like the glass is better. Like cheap is good. Like
Well,
cheap
think of
is
it.
really good.
It's like video cameras and photography cameras.
exactly.
Like, yes, you can literally spend tens of $1,000s on cameras to make epic films, but nowadays an iPhone is almost just as good. Like the difference
it's happening
between
exactly in binoculars. Like my old binoculars were way more expensive than my new cheap ones, and my new cheap ones are way better because it's just like, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, what the hell? They're
more
figuring out
accessible,
glass. That's why I keep being like, wow, the glass technology got better. Like, what's happening?
I mean, that's really all a lot of like camera stuff is as well. Right?
I guess.
Like, how can you make it for the nicer stuff for cheaper?
And the reason why you need to start now, I think, is that if you're in a place like Toronto or New York or many of these migration spots for birds in North America and Europe and other places, there's less leaves on the trees right now. They're only buds. And so it's so easy to see birds. Once you get later into spring, there could be more birds, but there's more leaves. And then it's kind of like this
Easy to lose the bird.
Yeah, it's like beginner time is early spring. Maybe there's less birds, but the movement's so easy to see.
Yeah, you
because-
can track the birds,
Yeah.
and if they land on a branch, you can most likely
Yeah,
see
you're like,
them.
well, what's that giant ass thing on that naked
versus
branch?
if there's like so many leaves in a forest blocking the view, you can only really see what's right in front of you.
Yeah, and my last binocular technique, which you'll, if on May 22nd in Toronto at High Park you want to be there, I'll show you in person how to do it. But if you look at a bird, a lot of people will then grab their binoculars, look down at their binoculars, and look in, and then try and find the bird again. But you just keep your eye on the bird, and you move the binoculars to your eyes looking at the bird, and that helps you focus on it far away.
Yeah, I found that works.
That's a
Once
skill.
you told me that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's part of the hardest part of getting binoculars is you just get lost in them. As soon as you put them on your eye, you have no idea where you are. Because now you're suddenly zoomed in. You're like, am I left or right of
And you
where
have
I
to
was?
focus with the little knob on
Yeah,
top.
but you're right. If you just like, when you told me that and you hold still and just put them up to your eyes, now you're already looking at that spot.
You might have to still move around a bit.
Yeah, but it helps
it's
you get
hard.
used
It's
to like,
easier.
you know you're closer to where your general direction was. Whereas if you do look down and put them up and then look, it's actually like
You're
really
lost.
disorienting.
Also, it's so frustrating when everyone's like freaking out. They're like, "Oh my god, a green heron!" and everyone's just like losing their mind seeing it, and you can't find it. Like, it's that type of feeling, like when you're stressed and someone asks you to do anything, and you just are like, "I can't." Like, even if someone's like, "What's my name?" and it's like you've known them your whole life, and you're like, like, it is a really crazy feeling. Like, and sometimes I'll get so excited about like seeing a bird and like lose all cognitive ability to describe where it is. I'm like, the branch.
It's
on
a
the
really
branch. It's like everyone's going crazy, and it's like there's a lot of stress because it's so exciting that then
and your
you're
word's
like
gonna fly away or
and it does, and then
Yeah.
you're like, and then it's like often you're bird watching and someone's like crying of joy seeing something, and then they're like, it's gone, and you're just like, well, I didn't see it. And it's like, it's just a crazy experience that like the binocular training and getting used to that will help, and someone who's good at binoculars will see way more birds than you. And you can, if you're like really loser, like I'm not loser, it's like actually the coolest thing ever, like me, like you practice.
The coolest thing ever, like me.
Like, no, because I was like, it's like rude to say loser, but sometimes I would just like practice, be like, oh, a spot on a branch, and
Right.
just like,
Actually, like, yeah, target
you
practice.
get good at it. Yeah.
I think what I've realized on the last time we did this year, what are we calling it?
Annual ASAP Science Birdwatching Spring Migration
Yeah.
Hike.
It is actually such a specific skill to learn how to say where something is.
Oh god, yeah.
That some people like naturally
can't.
have, or maybe some people just were like good at it because they'd done it before. But to know, not only be using like, okay, it's 12 o'clock or it's 2 o'clock,
Yeah.
whatever, but also being good at finding reference
Like the
points to
dead
say,
spot
like,
of the tree
Yeah, you
or
see that
something.
there. Now look here, because it is like it can be overwhelming when you're just like it's just there in the tree, but you're actually like there's 100 trees in front of me. Which tree is it? So I think that's like a fun skill to get better at too.
If
is,
you
like,
want to see
describing.
absolute panic, then you can come to the bird watching hike, because I'm so bad at that, and I get overly excited and I scream, it's on the branch, it's on the branch, and everyone's like, what fucking branch? And it's chaos, but it's fun. Okay. That's step 2, get binoculars. They can be cheap. Step 3 is you need to find friends, like people who like to go on hikes. They do not have to be people who like bird watching, but people who will. You can obviously go alone, but you're going to trick people to come with you. You're going to say, oh, we want to go to the park. Everyone says yes. And then you're going to show up with a goal. But one thing I was reading studies about helping people start, and what I thought was so interesting was that the average age to initiate bird watching is 22.9, like around 23. I'm like, that's young.
Oh, that is young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reasons for initial involvement were in descending order. So the most influential reason for starting was social influence. So that's why I was saying, like,
Meaning what?
Like
like
friends.
somebody saying like, let's go do it.
That's what I mean. I'm like,
come
so
with me.
you like,
if you're into it, you can
bring
be
someone,
an
because
influence on someone,
people,
yeah.
the main reason people get started is someone's just like, let's go do this.
Yeah, and it's nice to be the casual person. Like obviously, I've been the casual to you being the.
But I'm the social
enthusiast.
influence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's nice to not have the pressure to have to know what you're doing and just be able to show up and let someone kind of teach you stuff.
And then literally an app will do it for you. The second most common reason people started was just the nature experience, like wanting to just be in a park and maybe have a reason.
Yeah.
The third most, which I thought was cute, was a bird-centered trigger. So it's people seeing a bird that they're like, what is that? And then starting to Google and finding the app. And then like, I'm like, that's like the coolest one.
Yeah.
Which is what me and my friend, when we started in COVID, was. We were high on mushrooms
saw-
and like saw a duck. And we're like, we should probably look for more
What's
ducks.
that?
We were like, that duck is obsessed with us. We're obsessed with the duck. It was amazing. Education. So like people coming formally to our birdwatching hike would be an example of like a reason someone might start. And then cognitive emotional aspects, like just being curious or interested or feeling like they need like a hobby, which I thought was kind of like interesting. And then life course events. Sometimes people like will have like some sort of trauma, or maybe someone will die and people will suggest bird watching. So that was interesting. And then, they said men were more influenced by males, women were more influenced by females to start, which I thought was interesting.
Interesting.
And men would start more often after like a club or a group or a venue or an activity started it.
Yeah,
So like our
that makes
bird watching
sense.
hike,
Yeah.
whereas women were more influenced by wanting to be in nature, experiencing a bird for the first time, or like having a friend tell them to start.
Yeah, I think like it reminds me of a lot of things where anytime I've done it, I have really liked and loved doing it, but I did need the structure around it to get me there. You know, like I think that's a lot of things in life. Like it's so much easier sometimes to just be at home or just like follow your regular routine. And this is a thing that even though it's not actually that hard, it's still an activity. It's still something that you're like planning. You're like, I'm going to go to Hyde Park and I'm going to go bird watch on my own. And for someone like me, that can like be a barrier. So yeah, if you're curious about it, you want to do it, it's like having structure around it, joining a group, joining a club, joining an event is probably like the easiest way to actually get you there to then feel like it's a productive session versus you just like being unsure what to do.
Yeah, and it is like at first you need maybe someone else. Whereas I'm gonna go bird watching at 6 today on my own because of like anxiety and excitement. Like then you get to the point where you're like, I need to go because like there could be a northern flicker. And
totally, you're like very aware now of this is the chance to start seeing those things.
Yeah, whereas at first you kind of need other people because it's sort of like you're like,
it's a bit overwhelming, and there are so many different kinds of birds, and when they're far away you can't really tell the difference between them. Like, it is a nuanced craft, I would say, in the sense that it's like, you know, when people learn to love wine, for example, it's like when you first drink wine you can't tell the difference
I'm like,
between
this
them.
all just tastes like ass.
I'm not that I have like any palate for wine, but what I mean is like the more you're into it, the more you can see the difference, the more you can appreciate those little things, but it's hard to get there without someone or something kind of guiding you, I think.
Because the next thing you're gonna do is when you're in is just, this is sort of, I guess, should have been stated earlier, but it's like you go on Google Maps and you just look for green spaces near you, because in May, or right now we're late April, any of those green spaces in a migratory like area will have birds. Even me now looking in Madrid, I'm like, oh, it's interesting. There's still like best time to bird watch, February to June. It's like, okay, so this is the time.
Yeah.
Go on Google Maps, find a green space, because yesterday the subway was closed and I was like, I wanted to bird watch, so I couldn't get to Hyde Park. So I just went and like found the nearest green spot, and I was like, oh, there are way more robins here. Like,
then it would be just like walking on the sidewalk.
Yeah, well, it's just like, it seemed like it wasn't a park. It was literally like
a
this weird like parquet green thing, and it showed up green on Google Maps, and then using my Merlin app, it was the only time I got a different bird other than a house sparrow or a pigeon. You're like, okay, just go to the green. Yeah. And it's like, even if you can't get to a park or you're not super close, like it will have your most likely chance of seeing something.
Cool.
And then while you're in good bird watching spots where you could look up, it could be green space, or there's obviously very specific ones in any city where you are. That's when you're going to look for old people with big cameras, as we talked about, or anyone with binoculars around their neck. Because I've been that person. If someone comes up to me and is like, what are you doing? It's like, these people want to chat.
Right.
Like,
they're happy to share their knowledge.
Happy to share their knowledge.
And that's it's such a type of activity that feels special to share with other people. It's nice. Like, there are some things that people like to do and it's like their own and they don't want to give it.
Oh,
but I feel
God.
like
They will chat your ear
experiencing
off.
nature is like, you want other people to have that joy. If you enjoy being in nature, it's like, it's exciting to let other people in on what you're doing.
It's like hilarious. Like, you will have to leave them alone. Like, they will start following
like, hey,
you around.
bye.
Yeah. Like, I give my binoculars to people all the time. Like, it's such a fun feeling. I'm like, there's 3 green herons over there. I bet you didn't know that. Yeah. And then you coach them through it. And like, my point is that if you talk to anyone, they will want to tell you. They will let you use their camera to see the bird. They will.
And it's a form of community. It's like you're like interested in the same things, and that's a nice way to connect with someone. There's nothing better than having something in common with another person.
Yeah. But it is just like, I've never had an experience where someone was like,
go away,
I'm bird watching. It's like, no. And I did say old people because, and that's maybe a stereotype, but like, it is, at least in my opinion, the older people who have the insane knowledge of like the bird sounds, like they've just been doing it for longer. Whereas like young people who I've seen with binoculars are just as nice, but sometimes it's funny because it's like you're struggling with them.
Yeah, they may not feel as confident to like be an expert, and so you've done it for so long that you probably do know naturally so much.
The amount of information I have gotten from older people that I've told so many people that I've never fact checked. I'm just they knew that 72-year-old like man with like head to toe like Arc'teryx and the biggest camera I've ever seen. Like, I assume he knows.
Like, yeah.
Or like some woman who is like literally Margaret Atwood. I'm like, obviously Margaret Atwood lookalikes know about birds.
Like, I trust their word.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm not going to Google because that's like rude to them. Anyways, they will be there and they are so helpful. And sometimes like the most interesting birds I've ever seen are because I've just panicked ask someone who's looking at something because it's like they're camouflaged and these people can
You see
find
them looking and then you're like,
Yeah.
what are you looking at?
The only time I saw a woodcock, it was like a bunch of people. Like you just go to where all the people are and you go, what are you looking at?
Yeah.
And then they show you and I'm like, I would never have fucking saw that because it looks like a pile of leaves.
Right.
It's crazy. Like I actually was like, that's crazy. And like the
They'll
fact
help
that
you identify
anyone saw
things.
that is insane. Like these
Yeah.
birds are not trying to be seen.
Right.
Actually, except for the ones that are trying to mate.
Fair.
Okay, the next thing you can do is also just listen to bird watching podcasts like this one. But there's a lot of one. There's a Canada bird watching podcast I listen to all the time, which will have experts on talking about places you can go, times that you like in the year that you can bird watch, like how it shifts from the spring to the fall, etc. But the reason this is coming out now is it really is the time. Like spring is when they're vibrant, it's when they're mating, it's when they're loud, it's when it's easy to start. So a lot of the podcasts are great, but the reason I put it further down is that they are very like expert. Like these people are going bird watching in September when all the birds are like gray, and it's like, oh, I'm not going to do that.
Like the experts know they can still get a lot more out of it. You mean?
Yeah, and I just like it's like funny. Like in September, I'm like I don't even wanna. I'm like if it ain't making a noise and my app ain't working, I'm not looking for it. That's too hard. I'd rather look at the like leaves.
Fair.
Whereas these people are like all year round looking
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah, there's different levels. It's okay. It's okay if you're at a different level.
And some
Different level of
people will
interest.
like switch to insects in the summer when like the birds are. Like,
Yeah, I
less
think it would be
active.
cool to do another one of these hikes with High Park if they could bring an insect expert. Like I would love to do that too. Or
There are. I
know there are.
But I
I'm saying,
think
like,
it's
if
different.
we coordinated with them
Oh,
to
true.
even
Yeah,
have
like a July.
even just like a plant, like a tree.
Yeah.
Recognition session and like an insect recognition session. Like those could be fun as well, I think.
And that will happen on our bird watching hike.
Like
because
naturally,
like
yeah.
naturally there's just like leaves
Stuff that
around
comes
and you're
up.
like, what's that? I mean trees.
But I
obviously.
am interested in insects, and I do think like just the plants in general, it would be a different kind of trip. Of course, you'd also see birds on those.
Well, and
but-
it all relates. Like the reason birds are flying in certain ways is because the insects are also coming out. Like they like flycatchers,
Right.
like a blue-gray gnatcatcher, like which you will see, baby, if you're lucky, so cute, so small, obsessed with those birds, are eating these tiny little flies that you start to be like, oh, those are around me all the time right now, and they're eating them. That's why the birds are here. But you kind of don't realize like how linked to the insects and to the trees, the buds, like they're eating the buds of spring. Like
Right.
you should essentially on a bird watching hike learn about insects. And,
It's all connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But birds, I think, are an easier start because they're bigger, they're kinetic, they're vibrant,
easier to
they're
see.
loud.
Like an insect, you have to like much more camouflage. I
Yeah,
think.
although they are loud too, but they're way harder to see,
Yeah.
obviously. But I know that there are some high park hikes where you literally go out at night and use these special lights to see certain insects, like at night.
that one kind of scares me, but I feel like I would.
Yeah.
I would do it, but I'm scared.
No, that's like actually so scary. Like looking for insects at night is so. Yeah, and insects also like birds aren't actually. Some are scary.
Yeah, but in general,
But
they're
not in the same way.
In general, they seem safe to be around.
But I love seeing like a hawk and being like, holy shit.
A bird of
And
prey.
okay, and then the last thing, and I've said it literally 14 times this episode, that if you want to start bird watching, is you come to High Park on May 22nd from 6 to 9 p.m.
Yeah, it was so
And
fun
again,
last
you
year.
sign
It was
up.
so
Okay,
fun.
everyone, you have to
Yes.
sign up.
Go into the description. Roger, I think there is a maximum amount of people that can
No,
come.
there is, and
So,
last year there was
do it
no
now.
sign up, and it was like chaotic. That's why. So you need to sign up, do it now, and then there will be a point where like you won't be able to.
You
sign
might be
up.
on a waiting list or something. If
But
that happens,
hopefully
but
that
yeah,
doesn't happen, or we'll figure out what happens then.
yeah.
But yeah,
Amazing.
it's the time. And then, yeah, do you have any other final things? Like I could go on forever, but
No, I think this is great. Like I'm excited to see everyone who can come out. It's a cute little tradition that we've started. It's the only way we also get to like interact with people who listen to this podcast in person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's kind
And
of a
maybe
fun
it'll be
aspect of
someone's
it.
spark bird, which is the first bird that makes you fall in love
Yeah,
with bird
I will
watching.
say if you're coming to the event and you do have your own binoculars, bring them.
Bring them,
because
yeah.
it'll make it a lot easier on like having to share.
Last year,
and
some
the
people showed
supply.
up and were like, "We bought these yesterday," and I was like, "That's commitment."
Yeah, it's
they
so
did
cool.
homework.
But we will try to have lots of them there. I know High Park has lots of binoculars, but again, if you're able to bring some, it will make us less likely to have to share with people. Like
And if you were there last year, come back because that'd be so fun to like see like
Annual
what's up.
tradition.
And some people ask, "What's your favorite bird?" And this is what I read in a book. You say, The one I'm looking at. So that's a good line for anyone who starts. Oh, what's your favorite bird? The one in front of my eyes.
Yes, ain't it the truth?
Okay, that's great. We're going to come back with what did we learn this week, and we'll see you all May 22nd.